The Little Albert Experiment, a dark journey into behavioral conditioning. The Little Albert Experiment is not only one of the greatest ethical scandals in the history of science, but also a dark laboratory tale that reveals how human psychology can be manipulated. Let me take you back to 1920, to the cold corridors of Johns Hopkins University, to examine this painful event in all its detail. 1. The designer and the eccentricity of the experiment. The mastermind behind the experiment was John B. Watson, the founder of behaviorism. Watson believed that humans are born as a tabula rasa, blank slate. His famous claim was, "Give me a dozen healthy infants, well-formed, and my own specified world to bring them up in, and I'll guarantee to take anyone at random and train him to become any type of specialist I might select: doctor, lawyer, artist, merchant chief, and, yes, even bigger man and thief." This ambitious and ego-driven approach led to the desire to use a defenseless baby, known as Little Albert, in his experiment. 2. Phase 1. The beginning of innocence. Albert was approximately 9 months old when the experiment began. He was the son of a nurse at the hospital and was described in Watson's notes as an emotionally stable baby who almost never cried. In the early days, Albert was placed on a table. A white rat, a rabbit, a monkey, a dog, various masks, and burning newspapers were presented to him one by one. Albert's reaction was pure infant innocence. He reached out curiously to the objects, tried to play with the rat, and showed no fear or anxiety toward any of them. 3. The creation of trauma. Conditioning with noise. When Albert turned 11 months old, Watson moved to the darker phase of the experiment. The goal was no longer just to observe, but to create an artificial fear. The process worked like this. The rat was placed near Albert. As the baby reached out to touch it, Watson, standing behind him, would strike a 1.5-meter-long steel bar with a large hammer. The room echoed with a disturbing and deafening clang. The baby started at the noise and fell forward. By the second attempt, he began to cry. After 7 trials over several days, the grim result was achieved. The rat had become a source of terror on its own. The moment the rat entered the room, Albert would tremble, cry, and desperately try to crawl away. 4. The evolution of fear. The generalization phase, Watson's most terrifying discovery, happened here. Albert had not just been conditioned against that specific rat. His brain had associated anything white and fluffy with that horrific noise. In the follow-up, Watson presented. "A rabbit!" Albert screamed in terror upon seeing it. A dog, even though it was unrelated to the rat. Its furry nature was enough to cause panic. A fur coat. The baby could not even tolerate the texture of the fur. A Santa Claus mask. When Watson approached wearing a mask with a white beard, Albert fell into a crying fit as if he were seeing a monster. This was proof that the sense of trust in the infant's mind had been completely destroyed. 5. The unfinished end and ethical failures. Although Watson claimed he planned to decondition Albert to help him overcome these fears, he never did. Albert and his mother left the hospital. Watson moved on to analyze his data, leaving a child to face life with a severe, lifelong phobia. What happened to Albert? The big secret for years. People wondered about the identity of little Albert. In 2009, psychologist Hall Peebeck identified the baby as Douglas Merritt. However, the story gets even more tragic. Douglas died in 1925 at the age of 6 due to hydrocephalus fluid on the brain. Even worse, some claims suggest Watson knew about this health condition beforehand. This would mean the conditioning fear in healthy infants claim was actually a case of scientific fraud, conducted on a child who already had neurological issues and reacted differently. 6. What did this experiment teach us? Today, the Little Albert Experiment is taught to psychology students as the ultimate example of what not to do in the name of science. While it demonstrated how easily the human mind can be manipulated during childhood, it also proved the vital importance of ethical rules, such as informed consent and the principle of do no harm.